So we're back with an electrical ramble, and it's a great pleasure to be joined by Jake Green of the NICEIC, EIC and ELECSA.
Yeah, or Search Shore, you can say Search Shore, yeah.
So I could never work for you, I couldn't write the title of your job down before you go for your actual role. So you're in college today to see me catch up, because you've been helping us at the back end of last academic year with our learners preparing for AM2. We know how important that is, and we felt that you'd been closer to your AM2 than Darren, so that's why we had you in.
Yeah, so I've joined the guys here when they were preparing for their AM2. We just went through briefly some of the things on their tick sheet. We just talked and elaborated a little bit more on what exactly that meant in terms of doing the actual test on the day. We didn't go into specifics because at the end of the day they need to gain that understanding themselves, opposed to us giving them all the information. So it was more tips and tricks than actually talking about what's going to be in it.
And we're finding through social media, people who I haven't even thought of contacting me saying, I've completed an AM2, thank you, really helpful, or when I did my AM2 there were some issues. And the one thing I would say as my piece of advice is to read the specification. Yeah,
definitely. Just for example, cable sizes, sometimes they mix them up. So don't go with what you think you need. More read. It's really important to read. And again, some of the circuits are different. So if you're having a chat in a lunchtime break with one of the guys that you're with, and they say something different to what you've got, don't be alarmed. Just really read it for what it is.
Yeah. And that's what they're saying. They're saying they're all slightly different specifications, maybe not on the bulk of it. So the best piece of advice is to read that specification on your AM2, or as we move towards AM2S, which we believe has got a little bit of install work now.
It has, yeah.
Throwing cables in.
Yeah, we're gonna see that really progressing, and I don't really understand how that's going to work. If you was to do an AM2S, what does that give you over a standard AM2?
It's probably like where they changed from 2357 to 5357. They just revamped it, and I think historically people have done a very similar exam. Maybe they're thinking, let's just twist it. We think there's going to be a little bit of steel conduit with two bends in it, which is something that the NIC Live was making the electrical industry have a go. There wasn't a huge uptake of people wanting to embarrass themselves with a back to bend.
No, it was more come and have some fun. I think it'd be fair to say that if I tried to do that, and which me and Darren did have a little go at it, it'd take me a few times because I'm not doing that day in, day out. But for the guys that are doing it day in, day out, it really did show compared, didn't it? So
we think there's probably a crank set in plastic conduits. We're going to have to go over an obstacle. Again, a skill that's practiced at a lot of apprentice competitions. They tend to have the plastic conduit as a featured thing on there, and the crank set being one of those. We've off camera had a little chat, and we said always on these rambles that we have to ask that question: Star Wars or Star Trek? And your answer is, Jake?
Neither.
You're the generation probably brought up on the back of the original episodes 1, 2 and 3 when they relaunched them, which was a good reason not to watch them. Okay, missing out the 1970s ones. So let's pick something else then. So if you're into neither of those, would you have watched the what will become the 5th instalment of the Rambo series? Are you into that? Have you watched any Rambo films?
I'm not actually a big movie fan at all. I like ones that are quite gripping. And
you've seen The Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah.
Yeah, good film?
Yeah, good film.
Would you put it in your top 10?
Probably at 10.
Oh, right, okay. So let's have something in your top 5. It doesn't have to be number 1. What would be in your top 5 films of all time?
Shutter Island.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like something that The Rock might star in, where people get marooned on a desert island and he saves them with his miracle strength.
No, it's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, is it? Oh, when he gets abandoned on an island. Okay.
Well, he's a bit mental.
Oh, is he?
What's Inception as well? When they go through the dreams and all that.
Yeah.
No, you don't know them ones.
No. Give me another one. I'm stuck in the 90s. I am.
Saving Private Ryan. That's it.
Saving Private Ryan. Yeah. Horrific first 20 minutes though. Coming on that beach.
American Sniper with Bradley Cooper.
I don't even know who Bradley Cooper is.
You don't know who Bradley Cooper is? Star is Born with Lady Gaga. That's the remake from the Barbra Streisand one.
Oh, right. I've heard of Barbra Streisand.
I'll throw that in there. So
just salvage the conversation. So, you're a young man, you're not married, I can't see a wedding ring.
No.
Just to disappoint the audiences out there, yes, I am married. Okay. My wedding ring had a really good tale in it. We had our wedding date engraved on the inside of it. I thought it was a really nice touch. My wife she likes to recycle, and she's always very conscious about throwing stuff away. So I did the ultimate gesture. I went to our local recycling centre. Okay, I emptied my bags into the appropriate skips, along with recycled my wedding ring as well. So it wasn't until I got home and found out that I'd recycled my wedding ring. But you don't seem to have one. Is that something that you might own in the future?
Hopefully,
yeah. Well, you normally have to ask the other significant person in your life.
Yeah, that's
you're living together.
We're halfway there. That question's been asked. She did say yes. Had a little bit of a rough time recently, but we're
that's
on
just gone on camera, you know.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
But we're back together.
Yeah, we're always together. It's just I think every relationship sometimes has an up and down moment, doesn't it? It's just.
Ours doesn't at home. My wife's very lovely. She's lucky to have me. She puts up with me as well, which is always good. No, yeah. So but you're stronger for it. So are we talking that might happen within the next 2 years?
Next 2 years, yeah.
Does that mean that we might have some smaller Jakes running around in the future? Is that something on the horizon that mentioned as well?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's part of the wheel, as you want to put it. Yeah, that'll be coming up soon, hopefully.
All right, time to grow up then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stop worrying about yourself. You won't complete the sleeve because you'll have other things to buy.
That's staying that way. And the idea was that it did stay underneath a t-shirt, but that's
didn't quite work out like that. No, priorities change. Family comes along, get married, enjoy your time together without any children. I wouldn't be without mine. However, I did have a long period of time without them. Okay, and I enjoyed that period of time.
I think that's important. If you rush things too soon and you don't fully know that person, I think that's when problems can occur. If you don't enjoy your time together before you have them responsibilities, I think that's quite important that you really understand your other half before you.
That's cool, isn't it? So career-wise, so we're now, I think you're almost 2 years, aren't you, with the NICEIC, ELECSA and Churchill, and where else we can tack on the end?
Yeah, nearly 2 years. November the 20th, I believe it was,
Okay.
was the start date. It's going really well. I was brought in as a trainee, more so to do with what I'm doing now in terms of tech talks. I've never done anything like that before. It was my worst nightmare, standing up in front of people and talking. It's just, I don't think it's for everyone, but you become accustomed to it, and people are there to listen to what you've got to say, and more so, just embracing what's actually happening in front of you instead of going up there with that fear of, oh my God, what if I mess up?
Yeah, it's the most forgiving place in the world, isn't it? You don't feel if it is. But that's where the people who obviously know Jake and Darren tend to come together, Batman and Robin. Okay,
we're not Batman and Robin.
It's the only Fools and Horses Batman and Robin always got. I would have loved when you did the NIC live for the 18th edition and you were running down the street.
The cinema
event. And then obviously we had Tony in the cab. I would have just loved him to come around the corner and you to be dressed as the Robin to his Batman Del Boy style. But I don't think he would have done it, would he?
No, I was fairly new at the time of doing that, and I kind of accepted that I wasn't going to have a big role in it because it was on such a massive scale. Never done anything like that before. I was fairly new. Even the bits that I did take part in, I still felt really nervous and stuff like that. But it wasn't quite the partnership we are now.
No.
Back then, if you know what I mean.
But what people might not understand is that Darren is also a college lecturer, so he'd spent many years standing up in front of people before. Obviously, he was under a lot of pressure. He didn't have a script, he told me. No script for that. He had an outline of what he had to talk about in each section. So he'd done that off the top of his head?
Off the top of his head. We spent probably, I think it was the day before. We've been down to the venue a couple of times because we were shooting the videos and what have you. But yeah, no scripts. I didn't even have a script. Alan didn't have a script. We kind of just.
So you knew when to push your whiteboard out. And
I knew.
Get in before the comments come in.
I knew when I had to push my whiteboard out. Yeah, and we knew everything that had changed. We spent, hours and hours and hours getting a good outline. But to have a script, I think it really does tie you down, and I think we bounce better off each other than trying to force jokes, if you know what I mean, or puns and bits and pieces like that.
That's good. So that was really early on. So we're 2 years in. You said, you're looking to take on new challenges at work, and you said that you were looking at taking on the challenge maybe of looking in more detail at DC storage, which is a big thing.
Yeah, that's going to be massive. Hopefully, we're going to be really pushing on the infrastructure of what that looks like for the guys that are out there installing it, and I'm going to be potentially moving towards looking at that from a business point of view for us and what that means to the guys out there on the tools.
And I think it's a really good point to bring up as well, that people now are really not going to be consuming energy, are they, in the long term? So we're talking maybe within a 10-year window, that actually people at home are going to be producing electricity, maybe photovoltaic cells on the roof.
Yeah.
No feed-in tariff now.
No feed-in tariff.
So if you were out all day with your solar panels, you're actually giving the grid your free electricity and they're giving you nothing in return. Mm-hmm. So we want to harness that energy.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus is, even for people that have got solar panels at the moment, generally they're exporting more than they're actually using. Mm. There are clever pieces of kit out there that, if you've got a hot water cylinder, it will divert the energy down to pay for your... get this right now. Tank of water. Yeah, get me words out. So there is clever bits of kit that are using out there, but I think there's still that overlap where we're still sending more back. I think you mentioned earlier off camera about the renewables overtaking the fossil fuels.
That's another good point to bring up in it. I think it was last month, the end of last month, I'm going to get slightly wrong, I may put it in the link in the description if I remember, that I think we went to about 35.2% of the electricity in the UK is now produced by renewable sources of energy, which makes it the number one source of energy. So coal, gas, never oil, but nuclear, etc., are actually now been superseded, and that's only going in one direction.
Yeah, hopefully, and continue to put all these renewable energy sources out there, and I think we will generally see a different way of working. I think there's constantly changes throughout the industry, and it does seem to most of you guys on the tools that we're just constantly doing bits. It's not just us. It's a global thing where the industry just continuously changes. Introduction of new devices, safety features, etc. I think we just got to embrace it, really.
Yeah. I think it's the most exciting time. Back of the LED lighting revolution, I think this is the most exciting time for anyone. So us training new people coming into the industry, I'll spend that first probably hour of any chat saying this is the best place in the world, look at the smart technology, look at DC storage, look at photovoltaic cells, look at what our industry's got. If you go back 15 years, light, switch, couple of sockets behind the telly. If you're really clever, you might have pulled a couple of coaxes in for the sky. Well, it's about as advanced, and let's name and shame them. Household builders are still pretty much doing the same. However, they've got to put infrastructure in now for charging points.
Charging points, that's actually coming in a few months. So I don't know the exact date, but around October, November time. 20 months prior, there was a European time directive to say that any new build would then need to incorporate the infrastructure for EV charge points. So whether that be a cable, a duct in, or a ready EV ready charging point, there needs to be something there. There is some stipulations. You can find all the information online, but there are a couple of stipulations that need to be adhered to before you go and think, well, that's a new build, it's not got an EV charge point, or it's not EV ready. There's a few bits and pieces in there.
So if you've got let's call it a townhouse, probably a terraced house in my day, so if you've got row houses, you can't have one on the front of the house anyhow, can you?
Well, if you've not got off-road parking, etc., because you're not going to be trailing leads across the roads. I don't know what that looks like, but I should imagine in the future there will be on every house.
All I can see is I've got a townhouse, I've got the same problem. I'd like to have a battery car. I can only see that you'll have to apply to the council. Allegedly, this is me surmising, not knowing. They'll cut a strip out the tarmac into that. They'll put a flap in for you. You'll be able to drop your cable into the flap. You'll be able to drop it back over and hopefully charge your car. At the minute, they're suggesting that your local council might put a charging point in on a street light or street furniture in order for you to charge your car.
Still got that issue, haven't you, though? Let's be serious. You've still got that issue of that trailing lead. And I think that's a very good idea of what you were just saying there, about the flap and what that looks like. And who takes that on board?
Who pays for it?
Yeah.
It might be a case of, it's going to, council will say it's 500 quid a go. So if you're going to be doing it, you might get your LF grant to get 500 quid for your thing, but you're going to spend 500 quid to have the road or the path. It'll be the path altered. So connective cars, so cars that are plugged in. I think, again, I looked it up the other day. I think there's 220,000 cars in the UK that are plugged in, either hybrid plug or full electric, and that's gone up a huge amount in the last.
Yeah, I mean, the last set of tech talks that we was doing, we looked at it and we updated it on every tech talk, and I mean there was 23 of them last year, which was a challenge.
I'm talking about cars plugged in. You're talking about the charging points. Yeah,
I'm talking about the charging points. Yeah, so we kept looking at that, and it on a couple of websites they give you a update every 30 days. It, shows you what was fitted in the last 30 days. And that just kept increasing just constantly. We worked it out that it's something like 6 times the amount of publicly available ones that we need to be fitting more.
Right.
So I think it was 20,000 publicly available. And we need about 120,000 at this point to have a true infrastructure, so you're not just going to the shops and walking home.
And the infrastructure, I believe, is being put in by some of those large petrol-based petroleum companies, isn't it? And they got a little handle on. I think BP bought someone the other month.
They did. I don't know again what that looks like.
It's coming, isn't it?
It's coming. Yeah, they can see a decline in petrol sales, etc. So they're naturally just going to find another business source, aren't they?
I always use a good example of being, I'm going to hopefully get it right, Whitbread breweries. Okay, so they don't own any breweries anymore, Whitbread. So they used to provide the common man with a pint of beer after he'd been work all day. They now own Costa Coffee and Premier Inn. So there's a business that evolved. So if you look at BP, they're not going to allow a petroleum-based business to die when they can pick up one that does maybe DC storage or DC charging points.
They're doing a lot more than just picking that up. They're doing wind farms and everything like that already. So it's
all over.
Yeah.
So that takes you. So you're going to try and get involved in that as perhaps something behind the scenes at the NICEIC, ELECSA, and Search Shop. just practicing, Darren. You'll be proud of me. You got it in a few times. We know that you're looking to maybe get married in the next little while, and you don't watch any films of any note that I'm interested in, which is going to mean this will be the only time we ever do this. So what's next on a personal level for you? So are you back to work now? You had any decent holidays?
No, just come back from holiday. Nearly a week ago now.
All right, okay.
I had a bit of a nightmare. Turned up to Reyes Airport in Spain, and my case didn't make it with me.
Okay.
So they left it there, and they thought that'd be a good idea until Tuesday. So I got there on a Saturday. Case didn't turn up till Tuesday. So I was fuming at first, to say the least. But then we made light of it and went round and bought all the moody swimming shorts. So I was in the brightest orange swim shorts you could find.
Every single holiday resort T-shirt did you have?
I left I Heart Salou on my T-shirt. We had a good laugh. Yeah. So I've done that. I'm away again in October.
Let's cry for you. Where are you going now?
We're actually going to Bali this time.
Oh, of course you're going to Bali. That'd be a nice romantic place, maybe to suggest a marriage early, maybe the following year.
Yeah, could well be. Could be.
Breaking news. She won't get to this point. You can say what you like. No, I ain't going to do that. She'll never watch the video. And if she did watch it, she'll be giving up by now. He's going to propose to me in Bali. She'll be all excited.
No, that's already done. That proposal's already in place. It's just
confirming a wedding day.
Yeah.
Maybe you could come out. Maybe the waiter can come out with something and a little open it up and will you marry me on this day? I've booked.
So what you're saying is you want me to do it and video it and then show all your followers?
Yeah, you've got a gimbal now. You can be vlogging it, can't you? Yeah, look hilarious. So we've encompassed there some of the stuff the NIC's up to. Okay.
Yeah.
And ELECSA, Stroma?
No, not Stroma. No.
What's happened to Stroma?
Stroma, well, as far as I'm aware, they're being bought out.
Oh, by a rival company, maybe?
I don't think they're a rival company, certainly from not my point of view. We'll get on very well with all the people there.
So do we.
We all feed into the same JPEL 64 when we talk about regulations. They all sit on the panels, we all sit on the panels, so we all have our views and stuff. Sometimes we disagree, but that's just the way things go.
News, in the industry news, let's do one bit of industry news before we round this up. And this will, perhaps you can answer a question for everybody out there as well. We just looked at MK making switchgear, making consumer units for an extended period of time. They've announced they're no longer going to be making it. This is a scenario then, Jake. So I look at home, I've got my MK board on the wall. I'm really happy with it. I've decided to put a car charging point in, or extend a circuit, or extend my building, and I can't get hold of any of those MK breakers. What am I going to do?
Well, it goes back down to manufacturer's instructions, really. They've been out there for ages, and you've always had to follow manufacturer's instructions. You know, it's a tick box on the cert now. When you do an installation certificate, you're not going to be able to do it. So
you're telling me I can't go and get a breaker that will fit comfortably in that board that doesn't say MK, I won't be able to just drop it into that board?
Well, typically you could. However, you would then become the assembly designer. So you would then be taking on the responsibility of that consumer unit. Should something happen inside there, you would then become responsible.
And it's all about, is it dissipation of heat?
Dissipation of heat, yeah. So every manufacturer, when they do an enclosure with an assembly of switchgear, they will have to do a type test, and that's where they look at what heat is generated inside there. What they're saying is you can't actually guarantee that other manufacturer of MCB will dissipate the heat correctly within that enclosure.
So if I went to an installation then of any board and I found that a different breaker was in there, we'd classify that as a C what?
C3.
Okay.
However, if you notice there was some thermal effects in there, you would be looking more towards a C2 to say, you know, it could potentially be on the rise for heat.
Yeah, and we don't want to obviously cause a fail because of that. So we've took you around there. That was quite nice. So you've come in to help my students as of starting in September. You'll be again supporting us with the guys going through the AM2.
We're very supportive of all colleges, and I'm not using this as a plug, but you know we don't just work with Gary here at Corby and Tresham College. We go all around the country. So if there are any of you guys or lecturers that watch these videos, please do get in contact with us, and we'd be more than happy to come down and spend the day with yourselves and give you a bit of an industry overview from our point of view. Yeah. But also as well, Gaz, you got there's some changes to the model of qualifications now, isn't there? You have to do so many industry hours, so you have to get people from the industry to come in. So from a college point of view, perfect way of doing that.
They've got to do enrichment activities, and we think the best way to do enrichment activities is bring somebody in from the industry. Now, you could argue that if you sent them off and they did a little paper-based exercise on something away from the classroom, that we can class that as enriching the course. Well, we prefer to have people from the industry in talking about either installing wiring systems from the vlogging electrician's point of view, and I'll save it for the next Ramble. We've got 2 more people lined up from the vlogging world of YouTube that are going to come in this academic year for us. But that counts as CPD for us, but it also counts for them as enrichment hours. So it's fantastic.
So again, it's a good way. So if you do want to get us guys down, myself or Darren, if divers permit, we'll be more than happy to do so.
And it's fantastic. It's super worth it. And the stuff you did with our apprentices was excellent. So that's really good. So I'd just like to say thank you for your time.
That's all right.
And we're going to end it the way we end it. Now, as he doesn't watch any of my videos, he won't know how we end this thing. So we're going to say, I do get to the end of them. We're going to say, we hope this video has been some help. And you have to put your thumb up the right loon. Okay, and this stays in the video. Okay, so we're going to look at the camera now. We're going to end it. And we're going to say, we hope this video has been some help.
Okay,
ready? So me and Jake would like to say, we hope this video has been... We'll do that again. We're not cutting it. We're going. So me and Jake would like to say, we hope this video has been some help.
We hope this video has been some help.